The crash. The vast emptiness of space shimmered with countless stars as Ambassador Zorok's small craft hurtled through the darkness. Warning lights flashed across her control panel, bathing her azure skin in an eerie red glow. She gripped the controls tightly, her four eyes darting between the readouts and the viewport. "Computer, status report," Zorok commanded, her voice steady despite the panic threatening to overwhelm her. "Hull integrity at 47%. Life support systems failing. Estimated time until complete system failure, 12 minutes. Zorok's heart raced. She had known the risks when she chose to flee, but the reality of her situation was far more dire than she had anticipated. The Syndicate's pursuers had damaged her ship more severely than she'd realized. As a high-ranking diplomat of the Galactic Syndicate, Zorok had access to classified information that would shake the very foundations of her civilization. The corruption she had uncovered went beyond mere political maneuvering. It threatened the stability of dozens of worlds. When she had attempted to bring this information to light, she found herself branded a traitor, hunted by the very government she had served faithfully for decades. Now, as her ship limped through an unfamiliar star system, Zorok realized she had only one option left: find a place to land before her systems failed completely. "Computer, scan for habitable planets within range," she ordered. After a moment that felt like an eternity, the computer responded. "One habitable planet detected. Warning. Unregistered colony detected on surface. Species classification, human." Zorok's breath caught in her throat. Humans. The Syndicate had limited contact with the species, viewing them as primitive and unpredictable. But they were her only hope now. "Plot a course for the human colony," she said, steeling herself for what was to come. As her ship entered the planet's atmosphere, the damage to its systems became even more apparent. The craft shuddered violently, pieces of the hull breaking away as it plummeted toward the surface. Zorok fought to maintain control, using every ounce of her piloting skills to guide the dying vessel. The terrain below was a patchwork of dense forests and rolling hills. In the distance, Zorok could make out the faint lights of what she assumed was the human settlement. She aimed for a clearing several kilometers away, hoping to avoid causing any damage or panic among the colonists. With a deafening roar and a bone-jarring impact, the ship crashed into the forest floor. Zorok was thrown from her seat, her body slamming against the bulkhead. As consciousness faded, her last thought was a prayer to whatever cosmic forces might be listening. "Please, let someone find me." Miles away, in the control center of New Eden Colony, alarms blared. Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper sprinted into the room, his eyes quickly scanning the monitors. "Report," he barked. A young technician looked up from her station, her face pale. "Sir, we've detected an unidentified object entering our atmosphere. It appeared to be some kind of spacecraft, but it's not matching any known human designs." Harper's mind raced. New Eden was one of humanity's farthest colonies, established to push the boundaries of human expansion. They had encountered alien life before, but never anything like this. "Where did it land?" he asked. The technician pulled up a map on the main screen. "Approximately 20 kilometers northeast of the colony, sir, in the Whispering Woods." Harper nodded, his decision already made. "Assemble a team. We're going to check it out." As the control room burst into activity, Harper couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries, but now that it might be happening on their doorstep, he found himself both excited and terrified. Within the hour, Harper led a team of 6 into the forest. They moved cautiously, their weapons ready but not raised. The last thing he wanted was to start an interstellar incident if this turned out to be a peaceful encounter. As they neared the crash site, the devastation became apparent. Trees had been toppled for hundreds of meters, and a deep furrow had been carved into the earth. At the end of this trail of destruction lay the alien craft, its once sleek hull now a twisted mass of metal and unknown alloys. "Spread out," Harper ordered. "Look for any signs of survivors, but approach with caution. We don't know what we're dealing with here. The team moved forward slowly, their flashlights cutting through the smoke that still rose from the wreckage. Harper's heart pounded in his chest as he approached what appeared to be the main cabin of the ship. That's when he saw her. Lying unconscious among the debris was a being unlike anything Harper had ever seen. Her skin was a deep blue, with intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer in the flashlight's beam. She had 4 eyes, currently closed, and a slender body that appeared almost fragile. For a moment, Harper stood frozen, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he was witnessing. Then his training kicked in. "I found a survivor," he called out. "Med team to me now." As the colony's medics rushed to assess the alien's condition, Harper couldn't tear his eyes away from her face. Despite her alien features, there was something undeniably intelligent, even elegant, about her. "Sir," one of the medics said, snapping Harper back to reality. "She's alive, but her physiology is unlike anything we've seen. We need to get her back to the medical bay immediately if we're going to save her." Harper nodded, his mind already racing with the implications of what they had found. "All right, let's move her. Carefully. And I want a security team to secure this crash site. No one comes in or out without my express permission." As they prepared to transport the alien back to New Eden, Harper found himself whispering a quiet promise to the unconscious being. "Don't worry, we'll take care of you." Little did he know that this moment would not only change his life, but the course of human history itself. The arrival of Ambassador Zarak on New Eden was about to open a new chapter in the story of humanity's place in the galaxy, a chapter filled with danger, discovery, and the potential for something greater than either humans or the Galactic Syndicate had ever imagined. As the rescue team carefully extracted Zarak from the wreckage, the forest around them seemed to hold its breath. The usual nighttime sounds of insects and nocturnal creatures had fallen silent, as if the entire ecosystem sensed the magnitude of what was transpiring. Harper supervised the extraction personally, his eyes constantly darting between the alien and their surroundings. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, though whether by unseen aliens or simply the curious wildlife of New Eden, he couldn't say. "Easy now," he murmured as they placed Zarak on a hover stretcher. "Let's get her home." The journey back to the colony was tense. Every snapping twig or rustle of leaves had the team on edge. Harper found himself constantly checking on their unconscious passenger, watching the slow rise and fall of her chest to reassure himself that she was still alive. As they approached the outskirts of New Eden, Harper could see the curious faces of colonists peering out of windows and doorways. News of the crash had spread quickly, and an air of excitement and fear permeated the settlement. "Keep moving," Harper ordered his team. "Let's get her to medical before we have a full-blown panic on our hands." The medical bay of New Eden was a state-of-the-art facility designed to handle any emergency the hostile planet might throw at the colonists. But as they wheeled Zarak through the doors, Harper realized that all their advanced technology might not be enough to save a being from beyond the stars. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the colony's chief medical officer, was waiting for them. Her eyes widened as she saw Zarak, but to her credit, she quickly composed herself and sprang into action. "Get her into Isolation Room 1, she commanded. "I want full biohazard protocols in place. We have no idea what kind of pathogen she might be carrying." As the medical team swarmed around Zarak, Harper found himself ushered out of the room. He stood at the observation window, watching as Dr. Rodriguez and her team worked feverishly to save the alien's life. Hours passed, and the news of their extraterrestrial visitor spread through the colony like wildfire. Harper had to dispatch security teams to keep overly curious colonists away from the medical bay. He knew he should be resting, preparing for the challenges that lay ahead, but he couldn't bring himself to leave. Finally, as the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, Dr. Rodriguez emerged from the isolation room. She looked exhausted but satisfied. "She's stable," the doctor reported. "Her physiology is remarkable. Similar to ours in some ways, but with significant differences. It's going to take time to fully understand her needs, but I think she's going to pull through. Harper let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. That's good news, Doctor. Any idea when she might regain consciousness? Dr. Rodriguez shook her head. Hard to say. Could be hours, could be days. We'll just have to wait and see. As if on cue, there was a commotion from inside the isolation room. Harper and Dr. Rodriguez rushed to the window to see Zorak stirring, her 4 eyes fluttering open. Well, Dr. Rodriguez said with a wry smile, I guess we won't have to wait after all. Harper watched as Zorak's gaze darted around the room, taking in her unfamiliar surroundings. He could see the moment panic set in, her body tensing as she realized she was in an unknown place. Without thinking, Harper keyed the intercom. It's all right, he said, trying to keep his voice calm and reassuring. You're safe. We found you in your crashed ship and brought you here to help you. Zorak's eyes locked onto Harper through the window. For a moment, neither of them moved, each studying the other with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Then, to Harper's amazement, Zorak spoke. Her voice was melodious, with an accent unlike anything he had ever heard, but the words were clear. Thank you for saving me. I am Ambassador Zorak of the Galactic Syndicate, and I'm afraid I've brought great danger to your world. As Zorak's words hung in the air, Harper felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had hoped for a peaceful first contact, a chance for humanity to prove itself on the galactic stage. Instead, he found himself facing an intergalactic crisis with potential consequences beyond his imagination. But as he looked at Zorak, seeing the fear and hope mingled in her alien eyes, Harper knew one thing for certain. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Humanity's moment had arrived, and Jack Harper was determined to rise to the occasion. Bridges across the stars. The tension in the isolation room was palpable as Ambassador Zorak's words echoed through the intercom. Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper exchanged a quick glance with Dr. Elena Rodriguez before stepping into the room, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Ambassador, Harper began, his voice steady despite his nerves. I'm Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper of the New Eden Colony. Can you tell us more about this danger you mentioned? Zorak attempted to sit up, her movements graceful despite her injuries. Her luminescent skin shimmered under the harsh medical lights, patterns rippling across her azure flesh like living tattoos. The Galactic Syndicate, she said, her melodious voice tinged with urgency, is not what it appears to be. For centuries, we've presented ourselves as a benevolent confederation of worlds, spreading peace and prosperity across the galaxy. But it's all a lie. Harper leaned in, fascinated. What do you mean? Zorak's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Harper would later learn indicated deep distress. The Syndicate is run by a cabal of ancient beings known as the Eternals. They've been manipulating entire civilizations, steering the course of galactic evolution to suit their own unfathomable goals. Dr. Rodriguez, who had been monitoring Zorak's vital signs, interjected, Ambassador, please try to remain calm. Your body is still recovering from severe trauma. Zorak nodded, taking a deep breath before continuing. I discovered evidence of their true nature and their plans for upcoming assimilation events. Entire planets and species wiped out or altered beyond recognition. When I tried to expose them, they branded me a traitor. Now they'll stop at nothing to silence me, and any world that shelters me. Harper felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had long debated the existence of alien life, but never in their wildest dreams had they imagined being thrust into an intergalactic conspiracy on their first contact. Why come to us? Harper asked. Surely there are more advanced worlds that could offer better protection. A sad smile played across Zorak's alien features. The Eternals' influence runs deep, their tendrils embedded in countless civilizations. But humanity, you're an unknown variable. Your species' potential is spoken of in whispers across the galaxy. Some fear you, others are curious. The Eternals haven't had time to sink their claws into your world yet. Before Harper could respond, alarms blared throughout the medical bay. Dr. Rodriguez rushed to a nearby console, her face paling as she read the display. Multiple unknown ships have just entered our solar system, she reported, her voice tight with worry. They're on an intercept course with New Eden. Harper's mind raced. They were woefully unprepared for an alien invasion. New Eden was a scientific outpost, not a military stronghold. He turned to Zorak, seeing the fear in her alien eyes. Ambassador, I need to know everything you can tell me about the Syndicate's military capabilities. If we're going to have any chance of defending this colony, we need your help. Zorak nodded solemnly. Of course, but please call me Zorak. If we're to face this threat together, we should do so as friends. As Harper helped Zorak to her feet, supporting her still weak frame, he couldn't help but feel a connection forming between them. Here they were, two beings from vastly different worlds, thrust together by fate and faced with an impossible challenge. All right, Zorak, Harper said with a grim smile. Let's go save the world. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Harper convened an emergency meeting with the colony's leadership, introducing them to Zorak and explaining the dire situation they faced. Initial skepticism quickly gave way to grim determination as the reality of their predicament sank in. Zorak, despite her weakened state, proved to be an invaluable asset. She provided detailed information on Syndicate ship designs, weapons capabilities, and tactical strategies. The colonists worked feverishly to adapt their limited defenses, repurposing mining equipment and atmospheric shields to create a makeshift planetary defense grid. As the Syndicate ships drew ever closer, Harper found himself working side by side with Zorak in the colony's command center. He couldn't help but be impressed by her resilience and strategic mind. You know, Harper said during a rare quiet moment, when I dreamed of first contact as a kid, I never imagined it would be quite like this. Zorak's skin rippled with patterns that Harper was beginning to recognize as amusement, and I never imagined I would find allies among a species I had been taught to view as primitive. It seems we both have much to learn about the universe and each other. Their moment of connection was interrupted by a young technician's shout, "Commander! The Syndicate ships have entered orbit. They're hailing us." Harper straightened his uniform and shared a determined look with Zorak. "Put them on screen," he ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that sent shivers down Harper's spine. The Syndicate commander was vaguely humanoid, but there was something profoundly alien and unsettling about its appearance. Its skin was a pale, translucent gray, stretched tight over an elongated skull. Multiple sets of eyes, each a different color, blinked independently as they'd focused on Harper. "Humans of New Eden," the being's voice reverberated through the command center, sounding like multiple voices speaking in unison. "We are the Galactic Syndicate. You harbor a dangerous fugitive. Surrender the traitor Zorak immediately, or face obliteration." Harper stood tall, projecting a confidence he didn't entirely feel. "This is Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper of the New Eden Colony. We have granted Ambassador Zorak asylum. We do not recognize your authority in this star system. Any hostile action against our world will be met with force." The Syndicate commander's eyes narrowed. "You primitive creatures have no concept of the forces you're dealing with. This is your final warning. Surrender Zorak, or we will reduce your colony to ash." Before Harper could respond, Zorak stepped forward. "Commander Vexthor," she said, her voice filled with a quiet strength. "You know the truth of what I've discovered. It's not too late to stand against the Eternals, to forge a different path for our people." Vexthor's face contorted with a mixture of emotions Harper couldn't fully decipher. "You were always too idealistic, Zorak. The Eternals' will is absolute. Farewell, old friend." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the command center in stunned silence. "Well," Harper said, breaking the tension, "I guess negotiations didn't go as well as we'd hoped." Zorak turned to him, her alien features set in grim determination. "Jack, I'm so sorry. I never meant to bring this destruction to your world." Harper placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, marveling at the warmth of her skin beneath his palm. "Hey, we're in this together now. Humanity's been waiting for a chance to prove itself on the galactic stage. Looks like we're getting our shot." As if in response to his words, the colony's warning sirens began to wail. The main view screen lit up with multiple incoming projectiles, the Syndicate's opening salvo. "All hands to battle stations," Harper commanded, his voice carrying across the suddenly chaotic command center. "Activate planetary shields and prepare for counterattack." As New Eden's hastily prepared defenses sprang to life, Harper found himself standing shoulder to shoulder with Zorak, facing an alien armada bent on their destruction. In that moment, despite the overwhelming odds, he felt a surge of hope. Humanity and their newfound alien ally were about to make their stand, and the fate of not just New Eden, but perhaps the entire galaxy hung in the balance. The skies above New Eden erupted into a dazzling, terrifying light show as Syndicate energy weapons clashed against the colony's shields. The makeshift defense grid groaned under the assault, but miraculously held. "Shields at 68% and holding," a technician called out, her voice filled with surprised elation. Harper allowed himself a small smile. "Looks like your intel on their weapons was spot on, Zorak. Our adapted shields are more effective than we'd hoped." Zorak nodded, her 4 eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Syndicate relies heavily on overwhelming force. They're not used to prolonged engagements against prepared opponents. If we can weather their initial assault, we may have a chance. As if to punctuate her words, a blinding flash lit up the view screen. One of the Syndicate's smaller ships had strayed too close to the planet's atmosphere, where New Eden's repurposed mining lasers had managed to score a direct hit. A cheer went up from the colonists in the command center, but Harper knew the battle was far from over. The Syndicate still had them vastly outgunned and outnumbered. "We need to buy more time," Harper mused, his mind racing. "Zorak, you said the Eternal's influence hasn't reached humanity yet. Is it possible there are other species out there, other potential allies who might be willing to stand against the Syndicate?" Zorak's skin rippled with patterns of deep thought. "It's possible. There are whispers of resistance movements, civilizations on the fringes of Syndicate space who chafe under their rule. But contacting them would be difficult, especially in the middle of a battle." Harper's eyes lit up with an idea. "What about the data you stole? The evidence of the Eternal's true nature. If we could broadcast that across the galaxy, it might spark the rebellion we need." "It could work," Zorak said, excitement creeping into her voice. "But the data is encrypted, hidden within my ship's computer core, and the crash site is outside our defensive perimeter." Harper straightened his uniform, a determined glint in his eye. "Then I guess we're going on a little field trip." As Harper assembled a small team for the dangerous mission, Dr. Rodriguez approached Zorak with a hypodermic injector. "This should help with the pain and give you a temporary boost of energy," the doctor explained. "But please be careful, your body is still healing." Zorak accepted the injection gratefully. As the medication coursed through her system, she felt a surge of strength. She turned to Harper, who was checking his gear one last time. "Jack," she said softly, placing a hand on his arm. "Thank you for believing in me, for standing with me against impossible odds. Whatever happens out there, I want you to know that meeting you and your people has given me hope for the future of this galaxy." Harper met her gaze, feeling a connection that transcended their biological differences. "We're going to make it through this, Zorak, together." As they prepared to leave the relative safety of the command center, the battle raged on above them. New Eden's defenses continued to hold, but for how long remained uncertain. The fate of 2 civilizations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested on their mission to retrieve the data from Zorak's crashed ship. With one last look at the chaotic tactical display, Harper led his team out into the dangerous unknown. The journey to Zorok's ship would take them beyond the colony's protective shields and into a war zone. But as he felt Zorok's presence beside him, Harper knew that they were making history. Humanity's first steps onto the galactic stage might be fraught with peril, but they were steps taken alongside a new ally, friend, and perhaps something more. As they ventured into the firelit night, Harper couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning of an adventure beyond anything he had ever imagined. The stars above, once distant and unreachable, now held the promise of both terrible danger and incredible discovery. And at the center of it all was the enigmatic alien by his side, a bridge between two worlds thrust together by fate and united against a common foe. The future of New Eden, Earth, and countless worlds beyond hung in the balance. But for Jack Harper and Zorok, the most important battle was the one directly ahead, a desperate race against time to unlock the secrets that could change the course of galactic history. Echoes of rebellion. The forest outside New Eden's protective dome was a chaos of shadow and fire. Syndicate energy weapons sliced through the night sky, that eerie glow casting twisted shadows across the alien landscape. Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper led his small team through the undergrowth, every sense on high alert. Beside him, Ambassador Zorok moved with a fluid grace that belied her recent injuries. "We're approaching the crash site," Harper whispered, checking the holomap projected from his wrist device. "Everyone stay low-hand." His words were cut short by a deafening explosion. The ground shook beneath their feet as a syndicate fighter, trailing smoke and fire, plummeted from the sky and crashed less than a kilometer away. "Looks like your colony's defenses are putting up quite a fight," Zorok observed, her four eyes blinking in an expression Harper was beginning to recognize as admiration. "Let's hope they can keep it up long enough for us to complete this mission," Harper replied grimly. As they crested a small hill, the wreckage of Zorok's ship came into view. The once sleek craft was now a twisted hulk of alien metal, still smoldering from its violent descent. Harper's team fanned out, securing the perimeter while Zorok approached the ship's main access hatch. The encryption key should be stored in a quantum matrix near the ship's core, Zorok explained as she worked to bypass the damaged security systems. "Once we have it, we can use it to decode the data and broadcast the truth about the Eternals across the galaxy." Harper nodded, his eyes scanning the tree line for any sign of Syndicate ground forces. "How long will it take to retrieve?" Before Zorok could answer, a high-pitched whine filled the air. Harper's blood ran cold as he recognized the sound. Syndicate drop pods. "Incoming," he shouted, diving for cover as the first pod slammed into the earth mere meters from their position. The pod's hatch burst open, disgorging a squad of Syndicate shock troops. They were tall, life creatures with exoskeleton armor that seemed to absorb light. Their faces were hidden behind expressionless masks, but the weapons in their hands left no doubt about their intentions. "Zorok, get that data," Harper yelled as he opened fire, his plasma rifle sending bolts of superheated energy towards the advancing aliens. The night erupted into a firefight. Harper's team, though outnumbered, fought with the desperate courage of those defending their home. The air crackled with energy weapons and the acrid smell of ozone. Zorok worked feverishly at the ship's console, her fingers dancing across alien interfaces. "Almost there," she muttered, her concentration unbroken even as plasma bolts sizzled past her head. Harper found himself back to back with one of his squad members, a young colonist named Maya. They moved in perfect sync, covering each other's blind spots as they held off wave after wave of Syndicate troops. "Sir," Maya gasped between bursts of fire, "I don't know how much longer we can hold them off." As if in answer to her words, a massive shape emerged from the forest. It was at least 3 meters tall, a hulking war machine that moved with surprising grace. Its arms ended in whirring energy blades, and its head was nothing more than a cluster of sensor arrays. "Eternal's breath," Zorok swore, her alien curse translating oddly in Harper's ear. That's a Nemesis-class battle droid. They're nearly indestructible. The Nemesis strode forward, shrugging off plasma bolts like they were nothing more than irritating insects. It fixed its sensors on Harper and Maya, the air around it shimmering as it prepared to charge. In that moment, time seemed to slow for Harper. He saw Maya's determined face, illuminated by weapons fire. He saw his team, fighting against impossible odds. And he saw Zorak, her alien features set in grim concentration as she worked to retrieve the data that could save them all. Something stirred deep within Harper, a primal, uniquely human spark of defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. He remembered stories of humanity's history, of small groups standing against empires, of the indomitable human spirit that had driven their species to the stars. "Maya," he said, a new strength in his voice, "on my mark, overload your rifle and throw it at that thing's legs. Everyone else, concentrate fire on its sensor array." As the Nemesis charged, Harper's team moved as one. Maya's overloaded rifle exploded in a dazzling burst of energy, staggering the war machine. A hail of concentrated fire from the rest of the team struck its head, momentarily blinding its sensors. Harper seized the opportunity, sprinting towards the Nemesis with reckless abandon. He leaped, using the machine's own momentum against it, and jammed his combat knife into a small gap in its armor, right where Zorak had told him these droids had a vulnerable power coupling. The Nemesis shuddered, electricity arcing across its frame. With a sound like a dying star, the massive war machine toppled, crushing several Syndicate troops beneath its bulk. A cheer went up from Harper's team, but their victory was short-lived. More drop pods were streaking through the atmosphere, and in orbit, the Syndicate fleet was pressing its attack with renewed vigor. "Jack," Zarok's voice cut through the chaos. "I've got it. The encryption key. We can broadcast the data." Harper fought his way back to the ship, his uniform scorched and torn. "Then let's do it. We need to transmit from the colony's main communication array." As Harper's team prepared for a fighting retreat back to New Eden, Zarok placed a hand on his arm. Her touch sent an electric thrill through him, despite the heat of battle. "What you just did," she said, her alien eyes wide with wonder. "Taking down a Nemesis droid with nothing but courage and ingenuity. I've never seen anything like it. Your species truly is remarkable." Harper managed a tired grin. "Well, humanity's got a knack for surviving against the odds. Now let's see if we can't tilt those odds in our favor." As they began their perilous journey back to the colony, the sky above New Eden lit up with fresh explosions. The Syndicate was growing desperate, throwing everything they had at the human settlement. But in the midst of the chaos and destruction, a spark of hope had been kindled. The data Zorak carried had the power to shake the foundations of the Syndicate's rule, and the humans of New Eden, led by the unlikely duo of a colonial commander and an alien ambassador, were about to strike a blow for freedom that would echo across the stars. The battle for New Eden was far from over, but as Harper and Zarok raced towards the colony's communication array, they carried with them the potential to change the course of galactic history. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of one human outpost, but the future of countless civilizations across the cosmos. In the fire-lit night, two beings from different worlds ran side by side, united by a common cause and a growing bond that defied the vast distances between their origins. The galaxy watched and waited for the moment that would spark a rebellion against the Eternal's rule. Starfall Symphony. The New Eden colony's communication array loomed before them, a towering structure of gleaming metal and pulsing energy conduits. Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper and Ambassador Zarok burst through the facility's doors, their ragtag team of defenders close behind. The sounds of battle echoed all around them. The screech of energy weapons, the thunderous impacts of orbital bombardment, and the defiant roar of the colony's makeshift defenses. "We need to reach the main transmission hub," Zarok panted, her azure skin shimmering with exertion. "From there, we can broadcast the encrypted data across all known frequencies." Harper nodded, his eyes scanning the complex machinery around them. And that'll expose the Eternals. Spark the rebellion we need. If we're lucky, Zorak replied grimly. But the Syndicate won't make it easy. They'll throw everything they have at us to prevent that transmission. As if on cue, the facility shook violently. Through the reinforced windows, Harper saw a massive Syndicate warship descending through the atmosphere, its hull crackling with barely contained energy. Void Reaver, Zorak whispered, her 4 eyes wide with fear. They're deploying their doomsday weapon. If that thing reaches full power, it'll tear the planet apart. Harper's mind raced. They were out of time, out of options. But as he looked at his team, human colonists and one extraordinary alien, all willing to die for a chance at freedom, he felt that spark of defiance ignite once more. Maya, he barked, turning to his young second-in-command, take the team and reinforce the ground defenses. Buy us as much time as you can. As Maya led the others away, Harper turned to Zorak. You said the Eternals have been manipulating galactic evolution, right? Steering the course of entire species. Zorak nodded, unsure where he was going with this. Well, Harper continued, a reckless grin spreading across his face. Let's show them what unadulterated human ingenuity looks like. I've got a crazy idea. Together, they raced to the heart of the communication array. Harper's fingers flew across the control panels, reprogramming systems and rerouting power in ways their designers had never intended. What are you doing? Zorak asked, her alien features a mix of confusion and growing admiration. The array wasn't built to handle the kind of power we need for a galaxy-wide transmission, Harper explained, his voice tight with concentration. So we're going to use the Void Reaver's own energy against it, if I can synchronize our broadcast with the weapon's power cycles. Zorak's eyes widened as she grasped his plan. You'll create a cascading resonance effect. The transmission will piggyback on the Void Reaver's energy signature, amplifying it beyond anything the Syndicate can stop. Exactly, Harper grinned. Now let's hope my high school physics teacher was right about the universal constants. As they worked feverishly to implement Harper's audacious plan, the battle outside reached a fever pitch. The Void Reaver's massive form blotted out the sky, its weapon systems charging for a planet-killing strike. Ready, Harper shouted over the din of alarms and explosions. Zorak, input the encryption key. On my mark, hit that transmit button like the fate of the galaxy depends on it, because it does. Zorak's fingers danced across the alien interface, entering the complex series of codes that would unlock the truth about the Eternals. As she finished, she looked up at Harper, their eyes meeting in a moment of shared determination and something more, a connection that transcended their biological differences. Now, Harper roared. Zorak slammed her hand down on the transmit button just as the Void Reaver's main weapon fired. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, the world exploded into light. The communication array pulsed with energy, the repurposed systems groaning under the strain. The Void Reaver's attack, instead of destroying the planet, was captured and redirected. A beam of pure data, encoded with the truth of the Eternals' machinations, shot into space. On view screens across New Eden, they watched as the beam split and multiplied, using the Syndicate's own network of faster-than-light relays to spread across the galaxy at impossible speeds. The Void Reaver, its energy drained and systems overloaded, began to fall from the sky. It's working, Zorak cried, her voice filled with a joy Harper had never heard before. The data, it's reaching every corner of known space. Colonies, outposts, even the Syndicate's own worlds. As the transmission continued, something extraordinary began to happen. The Syndicate fleet in orbit suddenly stopped firing. Ships began to break formation, some turning on each other, others simply fleeing. They're receiving the data, Zorak explained, her eyes wide with wonder. Crew members are rebelling, refusing to follow the Eternals' orders now that they know the truth. Harper allowed himself a moment of elation before the reality of their situation set in. The Void Reaver was still falling, its massive bulk threatening to crush New Eden beneath it. "We need to evacuate," he said grimly. "That ship hits, and it won't matter if we won the battle." But as they turned to leave, the communication array's sensors lit up with new contacts. Ships were appearing in orbit, dozens, then hundreds of them. For a moment, Harper feared it was Syndicate reinforcements. Then he saw Zarok's expression of awe. "It's not possible," she whispered. "Those are ships from the resistance movements, the fringe worlds. They must have received our transmission and came to help. But to gather a fleet this size so quickly..." Harper's mind reeled as he realized the implications. "Time dilation," he breathed. "Our transmission didn't just go out across space, it went across time. We didn't just start a rebellion, we created an entire resistance movement in the blink of an eye." As they watched, the newly arrived ships engaged their tractor beams, stabilizing the Void Reaver's descent and preventing catastrophe. On the ground, the remaining Syndicate forces were surrendering en masse as the truth of their leader's betrayal spread. In the sudden quiet following the battle, Harper turned to Zarok. The alien ambassador's eyes shimmered with emotions he was only beginning to understand. Without a word, they embraced, two beings from across the cosmos, brought together by fate and forged into something more by the crucible of conflict. "So," Harper said softly, still holding Zarok close, "what happens now?" Zarok's skin rippled with patterns of joy and uncertainty. "Now, my dear Jack, we reshape the galaxy. The Eternal's grip is broken, but there will be chaos as worlds and species come to terms with millennia of manipulation. They'll need guidance, a bridge between the old order and a new age of true cooperation." Harper nodded, understanding the monumental task ahead. "Well, Ambassador," he said with a grin, "I'd say humanity is ready to take its place on the galactic stage, and I can't think of a better guide than you." As they stepped out of the communication array, they were greeted by cheering crowds, humans, and the first waves of alien allies united in victory. The sky above New Eden was filled with ships from 100 worlds, their running lights painting the atmosphere in a dazzling display. Jack, Harper, and Zarok stood hand in hand, that unlikely union a symbol of the new era dawning across the cosmos. The battle for New Eden was over, but the true adventure, the forging of a galaxy free from the Eternal's influence, was just beginning. As the first light of a new day broke over the horizon, Harper couldn't help but smile. Humanity had faced its trial by fire and emerged stronger than ever. With allies like Zarok at their side and the indomitable human spirit leading the way, the future of the galaxy burned bright with possibility. The stars, once distant and forbidding, now beckoned with the promise of incredible discoveries and new connections. And at the heart of it all was the most unexpected discovery of all, that even across the vast gulfs of space, love and understanding could flourish, bridging the gap between worlds and species in ways the Eternals could never have foreseen. Cosmic convergence. The galactic capital of Nexus Prime pulsed with energy, its crystalline spires reaching towards the stars like fingers of light. It had been 5 years since the Battle of New Eden, and the ripples of that fateful day had transformed the known universe in ways no one could have predicted. Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper, now Ambassador Harper, stood on a balcony overlooking the sprawling metropolis. Beside him, Zarok's azure skin shimmered in the light of 3 setting suns. They had come a long way from that desperate fight on a backwater human colony. "Hard to believe it's been 5 years," Harper mused, his hand intertwining with Zarok's. Their relationship had blossomed alongside the new galactic order, a living symbol of the unity they fought to build. Zarok's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of contemplation. 5 years of struggle, of hope, of forging something entirely new. The galactic concordat is still in its infancy, but look at what we've accomplished, Jack. Indeed, the view before them was a testament to their work. Nexus Prime had been built as the seat of the new government, a place where representatives from every sapient species could gather to shape the future. The city was a marvel of collaborative engineering, blending technologies and aesthetics from 100 worlds. The summit starts tomorrow, Harper said, his voice tinged with both excitement and apprehension. Representatives from over 1,000 worlds, including some we didn't even know existed before the fall of the Syndicate. It's going to be interesting. Zorak laughed, a melodious sound that never failed to lift Harper's spirits. That's one word for it. But if anyone can navigate this cosmic confluence of cultures, it's you, my love. Their moment of peace was interrupted by a chime from Harper's communicator. He activated it, and a holographic image of Maya, his former second-in-command and now head of security for the Concordat, appeared. "Ambassador," Maya said, her face serious. "We've got a situation. The Lazari delegation just arrived, and they're demanding to speak with you immediately. Something about a threat to the summit." Harper's brow furrowed. The Lazari were a newly discovered species from the galactic fringe, known for their precognitive abilities. If they sensed a threat, it was not to be taken lightly. "I'm on my way," Harper replied. He turned to Zarok, who nodded in understanding. "Go," she said. "I'll make sure the other delegates are prepared for tomorrow. Be careful, Jack. I have a feeling the real challenges are only just beginning." As Harper made his way to the diplomatic reception area, he couldn't shake a sense of foreboding. The past 5 years had been a whirlwind of discovery, diplomacy, and occasionally danger. The fall of the Eternals had left a power vacuum, and while the Galactic Concordat sought to fill it with cooperation and mutual understanding, there were always those who preferred the old ways of conquest and domination. The Lazari delegation waited in a chamber that shimmered with bioluminescent light, a concession to their unique sensory abilities. Their leader, a being of swirling energy contained within a humanoid form, stepped forward as Harper entered. "Ambassador Harper," the Lazari spoke, its voice a harmony of whispers. "We bring grave tidings. The streams of time are turbulent, converging on a point of great crisis. The summit, it is in terrible danger." Harper's mind raced. What kind of danger? Is it an external threat, or something from within? The Lazari's form pulsed with agitation. Both and neither. "We see fragments, a shadow from the past. A key that unlocks both salvation and destruction. And at the center of it all, you, Ambassador. You and the one you call Zarok." Before Harper could press for more details, alarms blared throughout the complex. Maya's voice came over the communication system, tense and urgent. "Ambassador, we have multiple security breaches. Unknown hostiles have infiltrated the lower levels, and were detecting some kind of temporal anomaly in the main chamber." Harper's blood ran cold. Whatever the Lazari had foreseen, it was happening now. He turned to the alien precogs, his voice firm. "I need everything you can tell me about this threat. Every detail, no matter how small." As the Lazari began to share their fragmented visions, Harper's mind was already formulating plans. He had faced impossible odds before, had helped topple an empire that spanned the stars. Whatever this new threat was, he would meet it head-on. "Maya," he commanded into his communicator, "initiate Protocol Omega. Lock down the summit chamber and get every available security team to my location. And find Zarok, keep her safe at all costs." As Harper raced towards the heart of the crisis, the city of Nexus Prime trembled beneath his feet. In the sky above, swirling vortexes of temporal energy began to form, tearing holes in the fabric of reality itself. The summit that was meant to usher in a new era of galactic peace now teetered on the brink of catastrophe. But as the chaos unfolded, Jack Harper felt that familiar spark of human defiance ignite within him. Whatever forces threatened the future they had fought so hard to build, he would face them with every ounce of courage and ingenuity he possessed. For Harper knew that the true strength of humanity, indeed of all sapient life, lay not in advanced technology or cosmic power, but in the unbreakable bonds forged in the crucible of adversity. As he prepared to confront this new and terrible threat, he drew strength from the knowledge that he did not stand alone. Across the stars, a million worlds held their breath, waiting to see if the promise of a united galaxy would withstand this ultimate test. And at the heart of it all, a human and an alien, bound by love and a shared vision, stood ready to defend the future they had dared to dream. The cosmic convergence had begun, and the fate of all creation hung in the balance. But in the face of impossible odds, hope burned brighter than ever, a defiant flame against the encroaching darkness.